Welcome to a new video. I hope you had an amazing day. Let's take a look at some news stories, shall we? The first story is called, "You Said You Wanted to Be Forgotten." This happened a few years ago at my former company. I worked as part of the customer service team for an online retailer. One of the processes was to deal with people that wanted their details removed from the website. We had to confirm if they were referring to just their email address or all their details, and then take the appropriate action. However, if a customer clearly confirmed what they wanted in their first contact and were unhappy, we could request it without the confirmation. A customer called me screaming about all kinds of bad customer service he felt he had received. During this, he mentioned that he wanted all of his details removed from the website due to our ineptitude. He said that he had already emailed us about this and wanted his email dealt with as soon as possible. I confirmed I would come back to him as soon as I could. I looked up his email. It was basically an essay, with lots of foul language. Amongst the various accusations, there was the following sentence: "Because of all the things you have put me through, I would like all my details removed from your website or suitable compensation offered." This felt suspicious. So I looked into other emails and cases under his name. He had done this several times, threatening to leave and using similar language. Other people had thrown gift cards at him, some with high value. He tended to do this every 3 months. Then he would use the gift card online, spending that amount and nothing else. We were, therefore, funding his purchases. I thought about it, then went to my senior supervisor with a plan, showing her all the former cases. She laughed and authorized what I wanted to do. I emailed the customer back, answering all of his points, pretty much confirming that many of them had been answered in former conversations with other representatives. I then ended the email by explaining that we were unable to offer compensation on this occasion and that, as stipulated in his email, I had requested for all of his details to be removed from our website. I sent the email for approval and put the request through. Once the email had been approved and sent, he called up in a massive panic. The call was passed on to me. "You requested that my account should be removed? This is unacceptable. I'm sorry that you feel that way, sir. However, in both our phone call and your email, you asked for all of your account information to be removed or for compensation. Our seniors were not able to offer compensation. I didn't mean it though. You have to stop it. I have already put the request through, sir. Also, you have said multiple times in previous emails that you wished for your account details to be removed." He went silent at first and then started to mumble, "I didn't mean it that way. Well, unfortunately, I am unable to cancel the process. However, you are welcome to set up a new account on our website once the process is completed." He just said fine and ended the phone call. Subsequently, he did create a new account. But we had no more compensation requests after that. I think he realized that he had been found out. On the one occasion that he did have to call due to a legitimate issue, he was perfectly polite and calm. The next story is called, "Getting Towed." This happened to me about 2 years ago. I arrived at my flat on Sunday, after looking for a place to park for free for over 20 minutes. Most places nearby are extremely expensive. But I had luck and found a spot. I looked around for any provisory sign that stated, "Do not park here." My neighborhood was going through some heavy waterworks maintenance and they often needed to block some parking spaces to dig into the ground, and those signs could spawn everywhere. I looked everywhere and nothing was in sight. So I uploaded my footage from my dashcam to my phone, took out my bags and went to my flat. The next morning, I go get my car and was greeted by an angry couple. They called what they call the police. It's not really police, but they are the ones to give parking tickets, handle towing, etc. They showed me the sign that they took out. "Where I live, you need to post it 48 hours prior to let the car owners get off." They asked for the spot to be blocked for 3 days at the town hall because they were moving and needed space for the truck. But the sign wasn't there yesterday. So I took out my phone and looked through the footage of my dashcam from yesterday. And nothing was there. So I connect to my dashcam and check the footage from this morning. Those jerks had set up the sign about 30 minutes before I got there, not 48 hours. I was going to be late for classes anyway, so I decided to stay. Maybe the tow truck would be reasonable, and it's better to be there to check if they damage your car and mark it as if it was already. The tow truck arrives with the police, and they have none of it, even if it's not my fault, while showing them the footage. They tell me to sort it out with the real police when I pay my fine. I want to argue more, defeated, but they don't relent and tell me to sign the waiver. And here is where the fun begins. When getting towed, they are supposed to do a checkup of the vehicle, to make sure that any damage was already there before the towing. They gave me the paper to sign and my demeanor changes instantly. They marked the vehicle as in pristine condition. I bet they've never seen someone sign the slip so gleefully. My car had a few dents and scratches at this point, and they had no possibility to change it later, as the print is on the carbon paper. Well, guess who got their car repaired from the town's money? The real police told me that since I could clearly show evidence of it not being my fault, I could go my way. So I saved around €250 in fines. I am not sure about the couple though. The third story is called, You Won't Leave. This happened when I was in my late teens. I was still living with my mother during this time. She just had gone through a divorce with my stepdad, let's just call him Richard. He was smug, arrogant, saw himself smarter than everyone else, and when he got upset, he could be a real jerk. Now Richard was still living with us as the house he was going to move in was still unlivable. So he would put on the charm, trying to get my mother to take him back. But that ship had sailed away a long time ago. He was moving his stuff into his van, very, very slowly. One day, I was sitting in the dining room, eating my lunch. I hear my mum and Richard arguing about something. I only recently learned that they were arguing about how the house he was meant to be moving into, that he deemed unlivable, was actually very much livable. They were going back and forth as they moved their argument in the dining room. I am just sitting there, eating my sandwich. My mother is angry, Richard is trying to defend himself, then a light bulb lights up over his head as that devious smile appears on his face, a smile I knew all too well. Fine, but I won't move until all my stuff is in my van. My mother was mad, as she knew all too well that he was dragging his heels with that, but then she collects herself. I can see the gears running but didn't know the malicious compliance she was thinking up. My mum, with a sweet smile, said, fine. Then she leaves. Richard, thinking that he was victorious, leaves too. The next morning, I am in the dining room, eating breakfast. And my mother is standing at the window, just watching Richard as he was leaving to go to work taking my mother's car. I don't know why he did that. It is an hour's drive to get there and he leaves pretty early. I hear the car turn on, then drive off. The moment he is gone, my mother turns to me. Are you up for some moving? Instantly I knew what that look was about yesterday as I smiled back to her. We begin to move his stuff into his van. Moving his bed, his bedside tables, all his junk, finding any kind of room to put it in the van. We did not stop, not for a break, not for anything, we were on a mission. Professional movers would have wept by how well we did this. It was like a real-life game of Tetris, rearranging pieces for the perfect fit, slipping into impossible positions. We started around 7:30 and finished at 1:30. The van was packed, and I mean packed. There was only enough room for the driver and that's it. We celebrated with a late lunch and just sat giddy like little schoolgirls, just waiting. Sure enough, around 4:40, he returns. My mum and I walked to the driveway to greet him. Hi Richard, how was your day? Richard still had no clue. It was good, dealt with some customers, got some projects done, the usual. That's nice, that's nice. Well, you can go now. Richard was shocked. What? I can't leave. I told you. I won't leave until all my stuff is in my van. His smug smile returned to his face. You did say that. And there you go. I point to his packed van that was sitting only mere feet from him. He turns. He realizes. The look was priceless. He turned to us, his face a combination of emotions. Did you two do this? Us. No, we just found it like this. Do you know what happened? I just played dumb, trying to hide my smile. Failing epically. I have no idea. But since all your stuff in there, I guess you have no excuse to leave now. Richard just stared, a deer in headlights, his only bargaining chip on staying was gone. Without another word and defeat written on his face, he gets in the van, backs out and drives out. We turned back inside, glowing from our little achievement, knowing that we had one less Richard to deal with. The last story is called, The Great Pumpkin. I was the babysitter for the neighbors down the street, who committed this malicious compliance. We'll call my neighbors Liz and Dave. They were nice folks, who ran afoul of the homeowners association, when the president, who lived next door to them, we'll call her Joan, got it in her mind that Liz and Dave had taken in an illegal renter. Renting out rooms was strictly against the policy. But they had not rented out a room. Liz's elderly mother had moved in with them after breaking her hip and being unable to live alone anymore. Joan sent them a very threatening letter about their unlawful renter and how fines would accrue if the unlawful renter didn't vacate immediately. It was accompanied with a copy of that part of the bylaws and pictures of Liz's elderly mother taken through windows of their house. Creep alert. They wrote back that there was no renter and explained the situation. Joan did not believe that story and had the lawyer start sending them certified letters about their continued violations with ever-increasing insane fines. This went over poorly. Liz and Dave got their own lawyer to fire back a cease and desist letter. After many increasingly aggressive back and forths, it all culminated in an association meeting where Liz, Dave and Liz's mother came in with IDs and birth certificates, and basically made Joan look like the pimple on the backside of humanity she was. They won, but Joan was furious and swore she'd get them for something. Joan maintained until the day I left for college that Liz and Dave had forged those driver's licenses and birth certificates to keep their unlawful renter. Cut to the following fall. Liz and Dave needed to repaint the house after making some siding repairs post-hurricane. They carefully checked the bylaws for approved paint colors and picked out a fairly bland shade of something between brown and tan. They gave the painters the color info listed in the bylaws and the painting happened. Less than a week after their house was painted, they got another certified letter from the lawyer, stating their house was the wrong color. They fired back evidence that they ordered exactly what was in the bylaws. Well, after many back and forths, it turned out the approved color and the swatches on file with the board no longer matched because the manufacturer had changed the colors in their line slightly due to some kind of formula change. Their house was a few shades darker than it should have been. See, the bylaws listed the manufacturer color info for convenience. But the shades actually had to match the official swatches you could have theoretically borrowed from the board and gotten color matched. Nobody ever did that, but Joan was on the hunt after the unlawful renter and forced them to have to repaint. Liz and Dave were taking no chances on the second try. They got the swatch set from the House Owner Association. For some reason, it made no distinction between approved accent colors or house colors. They decided that if they had to paint their house a second time, Joan, the dog that caught the car, could live next to the most garish option they had. It was pumpkin orange. The painters asked multiple times if they were sure. They were very sure. You couldn't see the orange from inside, but you sure could from next door. Joan made many attempts to object to this. But it was within the letter of the rules, and the house stayed orange until long after I moved away. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.